Thank you for applying for a position at our company. I'm sorry to inform you that at this time, we won't be able to invite you to the next phase of our selection process. Best wishes for a successful job search. So this story is as old as time. It's intimidating to apply for a job for the first time, to change your current job, or to go for an opportunity in another country, especially when the interview won't be in your native language. Now, when you try and you fail, you may find yourself wondering, I'm sure this was because my English isn't good enough. I don't have enough experience. I'm not good enough.
The vulnerabilities that we have that usually feel like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't say that. I can't really present that about myself. That's actually can be an empowerment for you because it shows a human side to who you are as a person, especially if you know how to say, I am aware of these areas of development that I still need to improve, and I am actively doing X, Y, Z in order to improve it. These are things that hiring managers want to hear.
So whether applying for a job or school, speaking in a foreign language, or even doing something new, we have also faced rejection and had to face our vulnerabilities. My guest today is Natasha Broody from Life with a Big E and author of Give Me Tea Please. She shares tips on how you can develop a thicker skin to deal with rejection. Natasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ethan, for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I understand how tapping into failure can be scary. As humans, we don't want to deal with that. In fact, our brain is programmed to avoid it at all costs. So much so that many of us suffer from analysis paralysis. That is, when you focus too much on something other than getting started or doing what you need to do in this moment. If you also tend to overthink your decisions, this simple piece of advice will help you a lot to get started.
I would encourage others to maybe try thinking like that in a mindset if the rejection feels overwhelming. Think of a time where you were not expecting something to work out on your side and it has worked out. I am hoping to God that is a story for everyone, even in the smallest amount. Opening a door and you weren't expecting it to open, something really small. Whatever it was that gave you that kind of jolt of surprise and, oh my God, this makes me feel great. Try tapping into that mindset in order to face this, this undetermined world of what will happen if I try. Tap into that mindset and see if it will help you overcome that fear. It is the curiosity that helps me build the tolerance for failure.
So this reminds me a lot of the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. One of my favorite passages says, interests are not discovered through introspection. Instead, interests are triggered by interactions with the outside world. The process of interest discovery can be messy, serendipitous, and inefficient. This is because you can't really predict with certainty what will capture your attention and what won't. Without experimentation, you can't figure out which interest will stick and which won't. So this means that your experiences make you unique, and this can be your biggest asset while applying for a job.
Everyone's story is, for want of a better word, your key, your asset to writing a very well-crafted CV, crafting your cover letter or your motivational letter, depending what region you're in the world, crafting your motivational letter, structuring it well, and using the resources that you have obtained from your personal life to ace your interview. Everyone has it. What I usually say to people is that if you've never worked a job before, it probably would not be within your best interest to apply for a senior level role at a company that's high profile. You've never had work experience. So then you would need to start relying on inventing stories that have no part of your background. You don't need to do that. If you find a job that you really want to do that is applicable to your background, and you know you have the skills, the experience or the skill set to actively execute that job in a manner that would be a value added for a company, All you need to do is figure out how to present the best version of yourself. The best version of yourself does not mean perfection, at least not for me, it doesn't. The best version of yourself means how do you show that you are a well-rounded, a well-developed colleague that can contribute positively on a team. That is difficult, especially if you are competing with others who know how to do that already.
So we at Real Life English are here to help learners just like you to not only become a better English speaker, but also to live your best life. Just like Gloria, who says that thanks to our channels, she was able to perform confidently in an interview and get a new job. That's why every week we create lessons so that you can understand fast-spoken English, be understood by anyone, and connect to the world. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any new lessons. And if you want to listen to the full incredible interview with Natasha, get even more tips that can help you to succeed in your next job interview, and follow with a full transcript for free, make sure to download our app. What's more, on the app, you can practice your speaking anytime, anywhere, which is exactly what you need to build your confidence to speak English in a high-pressure situation like a job interview. So you can get that now by searching for Real Life English in the Apple app or Google Play Store, or you can simply click up here or in the description below. Do you have any practical tips that you might give to someone who, say, has an interview coming up tomorrow or later this week?
Yeah, I would say the first thing that you want to do if you have an interview coming up is, even if you're an advanced person doing this, you want to know your strengths and your weaknesses. I would say you want to prioritize your weaknesses over your strengths, because if it's a company, especially if they're high profile, they're definitely going to ask you in some way, shape, or form, what are your weaknesses? It could appear in a question like the one that I just said, tell me something that you thought was unfair. If you answer that question wrongly, then we have a weakness that's appearing. So understand where your weaknesses are, even more so than your strengths. I say on top of that, reduce your responses to 3 in terms of 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses. 3 seems to be a magic number. I don't know why. Reduce each response that you have with 3. If there's any time that you have to list something, stick with 3. Don't do 5, don't do 10, stick with 3. If you can't get up to 3, definitely make sure that the one you are going to use is very well formed. And the last thing that I would say is, most interviews, especially nowadays that we've done this kind of, Zoom format, most interviews are now, around 30 minutes to 45 minutes. They used to be more like 45 minutes to an hour. And still some are even over an hour, depending on if they have a series of, interviews that you have to sit through, but those are usually very high profiled. I would say understand the makeup of an interview. Let's say the standard interview format is 45 minutes. If you spend 5 minutes on each question, you're only getting less than 10 questions in there. And that is including your, hi, my name is who is so. My name is so and so. We're your interview panel. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, all of that is within 45 minutes. So you have to be very aware of how long you're speaking for. Could be difficult for some people who might like to speak a lot. Reduce your interview response time 1 to 3 minutes. If you have to go over 3 minutes, go to 5, but make sure that the interview question you're really going to spend 5 minutes speaking about is something where you have to show your thought process and why you chose to do the acts that you did in the manner that you did them. 1 to 3 minutes for each interview. In that way, you can get something close to 15 to 20 different questions asked to you about who you are as a person. Remember, the goal of an interview is to make it a conversation. It's an interview, not an interrogation. That means an interview goes 2 ways. You can talk and your interviewer can talk. You can ask your interviewer questions, especially if it's a well-developed company. They will be expecting you to ask them questions. So it's an interview, a conversation, not an interrogation, meaning one way. Only one person is directing questions. So it's to your advantage to use that conversational space and make it feel like the interviewer has an opportunity to get to know who you are as a person, and you have an opportunity to get to know your interviewer as an interviewer. That is your goal. You want to make sure that when you get up and you leave that room, there is some kind of ghostly essence of who you are sitting in that chair, so that when they're sitting there at the SIFT and they have A, B, and you as the third candidate, they're just going, yeah, I kind of just remember candidate C because blah, 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 blah. That is your goal, to leave such a presence of yourself behind in that room, because the interviewer had the time to delve down into question after question after question to understand who you are as a person and how you are going to be contributing your skills as an added value to their team or company or both.
Do you also want to be successful? Then you need to find out what success means to you.
Sometimes I feel like success comes when you really dig deep inside yourself and just accept yourself for who you are, and you decide that that's the person you're going to be and you lean into it. That often is where success comes from, because people sort of see that there's an inner truth being expressed, or a certain kind of comfort when you've accepted yourself.